Hello everyone, my name is Odysseus Andrianos, and started this group with JL, Trivium group, because we just want to see the world change. And you know, the old saying, be the change you want to see in the world. We're both coaches for a living. I'm developing myself as a public speaker, and I speak about fitness and film, but I'm really passionate about talking about the Trivium and doing what you did, coming up and speaking. Like, I really appreciate that. We want to get more people to come up and speak, because that's when you attain true mastery, is when you get up and speak and teach other people how to do stuff, or the things that you really learned, you know? And so, like, I do that on a day-to-day basis, but this, like, gets me in a whole different realm of teaching, and I really feel like this is more important than anything else that I teach on a day-to-day basis, because I'm giving people the tools to think for themselves. And so, what really got me involved with doing the Trivium stuff is, I've been running my own gym for 8 years down in Nevada, and being a coach, I realized that I was teaching how to get fit physically. But I realized after all this time that it's really about getting the mind right. And that actually ties right into what I'm going to be talking about today. But if you check out the sheet that I have, I actually used the Trivium to kind of break down where this comes from, where the fourth way or the great work comes from. And so, who is it? G.I. Gurdjieff. Has anybody here ever heard of G.I. Gurdjieff? You have? What can you tell me about G.I. Gurdjieff?
It's a spiritual teacher.
Yes.
You go to a lot of different things about it.
Okay. All right, spiritual teacher. I actually heard there was some kind of. I gave one other presentation on some of this information recently here in Roanoke Park, actually, and somebody told me there was like a center up in Occidental where they're teaching. Am I Fran? Am I cool?
You're good. You're good. I'm just doing my best. You're fine.
If I speak too quickly, please let me know. I'm really working on that. But so we go through the Trivium here. We have who? G.I. Gurdjieff. Then what? He developed the fourth way, aka the great work, and he wrote a book called Buzzlebee's Tales. I have yet to read that book because it is a really difficult book to read. I actually pulled it out and I tried to start reading. I was like, I'm going to save this for another day. It's intense reading. But it's supposedly this crazy esoteric tale, like these two aliens and their travels and whatnot. I don't know much more than that, but I just know it's an intense tale. Anyways, when did that happen? In the early 1900s, and he traveled all over the world. He created this program called the Fourth Way, and it was really random. It's like, you know, sometimes I'm more of a spiritual person than religious, and I was walking through Good Earth down in Mill Valley. Have you ever been there? Really good food. The food's amazing. And I've been studying G.I. Gurdjieff in the last couple months, and I walked up and I saw this magazine, Gurdjieff magazine, and I was like, oh my God, I have to get that. And I pulled it out, and we're actually here teaching the Trivium, which is about the Pythagorean theorem, and Pythagoras is also on there too. So it's about Gurdjieff and Pythagoras. And I'm going to pass this around. I'm actually thinking about subscribing. I'm trying to convince Chris to split the subscription with me, so we can actually subscribe to this magazine. So that was really a great connection for me, because I actually already given one presentation talking about Gurdjieff, and then I saw that magazine, so I started reading it, and it mentions a book that I read called Reality, that was written by Peter Kingsley, an esoteric mystic, and he talks about these poems that were written by Parmenides, and it actually is mentioned in this magazine, which was really weird. So it made a connection with a book that I read recently as well. So that's kind of my whole connection to where I came to with this presentation with the great work and the fourth way, because as a coach, I realized that back to what I was mentioning about being a gym owner, is that we train the body, but I realized that the first step is training the mind. And that's where the Trivium stuff is so powerful, because it gives you the tools to train your mind, because the frontal lobe of the brain is kind of a barrier that's like, am I going to take in this information? And you get to you're the judge and the jury between your own mind and whether or not you're going to take in information. So essentially what this group is about is giving people the tools so you have a bulletproof vest to BS in your life, And so part of what I'm teaching you today is going to help you with that. So back to this. So it was where was it? In Europe and America. Why? The fourth way provides the tools to develop your five senses and awaken your consciousness. Now, one of the things that Joe talked about was, so we have the 3, 4, 5 triangle, right? And so today I'm kind of focusing on the quadrivium a little bit more, but the 5 is your 5 senses. So by applying these tools, it relates to everything in the Trivium, but it's going to help to awaken your 5 senses. When your 5 senses are more awake, your consciousness is more awake, and you're going to make better decisions, have a better life, and all that good stuff. So what you do is, how is it done? Doing daily exercises to develop the mind, body, emotions, and spirit. And it has to be done in that order. You can try and develop your emotions, but before you develop your mind and body, but don't you think it's going to be pretty hard? Right? It's like, if you don't get your mind right and your body right, you're going to try and get your emotions right. I'm sorry. So he developed this thing, and this goes way deeper. So part of this is I want to give you guys the tools to go out and do your own research. I mean, we're only talking for a few minutes, so definitely go and study this. These words. Gurdjieff combined monk, fakir, I don't know if I'm saying that, fakir, yogic and techniques to combine them together to develop the great work. So the yogi stuff was mental development. Like I said, go and study more deeply with this stuff. The fakiri work was physical development. The monk work was emotional development. And that's when you put all three of those together and you were developing those on a regular basis, that's when you got the fourth way, or you accomplished the work. But you had to do it on a regular basis. Does that make sense, guys? You can't just wake up every day and assume that you're so fantastic and I have the greatest ego in the world and I don't need to do anything. You know, you have to do work every single day. That's what we teach as coaches, right? You have to do the work. And so, what I did is I was studying the Quadrivium, and I started getting into studying GI Gurdjieff. And I kind of made this connection that I thought was really powerful with the fourth way by GI Gurdjieff, the four elements in the Quadrivium. Right? So I actually gotten up here and spoken about the Quadrivium in the past and how it connects to the four elements, which is really blew my mind because I study alchemy and whatnot, and how this applies to your life I'll explain in a moment. But so, like I said, I used to train people developing the body first. Let's get fit, let's exercise. You can go blue in the face exercising, but if you don't have your mind right, you're not going to see the results that you want. Right? You look in the mirror and you hate what you see, you're not going to be happy, right? So giving people the tools, and like I said, I want you to do more research into this, to develop your mind. If you get that right, then it's going to be easier to get your body right, right? When you get your mind and your body right, then it's easier to eat right. It's easier to get, like, I got to go to sleep because I have things that I need to do, right? Or you're going to make sure that you're exercising regularly because you've got your mind right and your body right. When you really got these two dialed in, that's when you start stepping into getting control over your emotions. Right? And when you get control over your emotions, then it's like a ripple effect. You start affecting everybody around you because people come at you with their BS, right? Just like I was saying, we're giving you like a bulletproof vest of BS coming at your life. You can emotionally handle that. The word emotion is energy in motion. Does that sound good? I made that up, but I thought it sounded good, right? So, emotion. But then that's where you step into this, your spirit, right? And so, like I said, I'm more spiritual than religious. And people say, what's spiritual? What does that even mean? I want to simplify that for you guys. Like in my mind, when you get all these connected, what happens is a lot of people are operating with their spirit here, and their self is here, right, with a lowercase s. And what I want people to do is operate with their higher self. And that's what I'm talking about when you just tap into this, your spirit. Because you got your mind right, you got your body right, you got your emotions right. That's when you start to become that ripple effect where it's like water and music. I'm going to get into this in a second. Right? You start to be that ripple effect as people come out with their bullshit. You're like, oh, no way, boom, you give it right back to them, you just move on with your life. Nobody can touch you, right? Because you've done the work on your mind. You're doing it on a regular basis. You're doing the work on your body. You're doing it on a regular basis. You're emotionally doing like meditation exercise. I mean, like I said, I'm not going too deep into this today, but there's a variety of exercises. If you look up the yogi, fakir, yogis meditate, right? You're learning to get control of your body, all these things. But when you get these three down, that's when you tap into your spirit, and you're not so like egotistical or narcissistic, or you guys know the word solipsism, where you think the world revolves around you because your ego is the greatest. I mean, that's the thing is when you're trapped in that lower self. When you tap into your higher self, that's when you've got these all lined up, and you're really tapping into this quadrivium. Your five senses awaken because you got your mind right, your body, your emotions, your spirit. You start affecting everybody around you. You start getting up and speaking and changing people's lives, right? Because you're passionate about change. And so let me get back to like how these all relate, right? Does that make sense how I explained that to you, the beginning part there? That's the fourth way path. When you get you're doing the exercises for your mind, your body, your emotions, and then boom, you tap into your spirit, which takes you from your lower self to your higher self. It makes your life easier. Does that sound like it's easier? You can do all that stuff? It's not easy. It's the great work, right? So it's not easy. So this relates to the elements, right? So with your mind and air. A lot of people aren't breathing right. A lot of people are always breathing from the top of their lungs. You know why people who smoke cigarettes get addicted? Because they're breathing in deeply. They get addicted to breathing in deeply, partially, right? So part of getting your mind right is getting your breathing right. It's that simple. It's your foundation. What do you need more than food and water? Oxygen, right? So when you get your mind right, you get your breathing right, you're thinking properly, you're going to oxygen to your whole brain and body. This taps into the math, right? Or the arithmetic, because everything in your life just adds up better. Does it make sense? Because you've got your mind, you're breathing, you're more in tune with things. Once you're breathing right, then you start tapping into your body. Your body is earth, right? Because you eat food that comes from the earth, right? It taps into geometry, because geometry is earth measure, right? So that's how it taps into the quadrivium. All right? Then from there, this is where I think is the most powerful, like I mentioned before, is once you've gotten these down, you start tapping into emotions, and it's like water, right? And like water is to music, it's a vibration. Your body is a resonance. you start to resonate, and you're like water. It's like a drop of water. Every one of your body's made up of water. You become that drop of water that resonates and changes the lives of everybody around you, right? That's essentially my goal in doing this, is to affect each and every one of you. So you go out and you tell people, wow, like, I went and I saw this presentation. There's these people that are actually talking about real shit, not at the same stuff like, wow, your blouse looks nice. You have nice shoes. Have a nice day. Goodbye. Let's let me take more money from you and do it. It's just, it's just so much bullshit. It's like, and people are, I feel like they want to hear this kind of stuff because this is where you're actually really going to learn how to apply this stuff to the trivium, to the 3, 4, 5, right? And so the more we share this information, the more we tap into this knowledge, the more powerful we're all going to be. Now. Let me finish up by going over this Wikipedia thing. Let me get some water real quick. Actually, Beck, you want to read that for me? What does it say from Wikipedia? The fourth way.
The fourth way addresses the question of humanity's place in the universe and the possibilities of inner development. It emphasizes that people ordinarily live in a state referred to as semi-hypnotic waking sleep, while higher levels of consciousness, virtue, unity of will are possible. The fourth way teaches how to increase and focus attention and energy in various ways, and to minimize daydreaming and absent-mindedness. This inner development in oneself is the beginning of a possible further process of change, whose aim is to transform man into what he ought to be.
Oh, sorry, should have.
Does that make sense, guys? So that's actually something I forgot to mention, is that most people, like he says that 90% to 95% of people are in a wakeful state of sleep. And every single one of you, even myself, you drive a long distance, you get out the car, like, what happened all the time? You're like not conscious, or you're sitting there watching TV and you're not conscious, right? So part of this work is to get you to be more conscious at all times. That's how you get out of that wakeful state of sleep. You're like, what happened the last 10 years of my life? I mean, people go through those kind of experiences, right? Because they're not tapping into their higher self. They're like watching TV, playing video games, really caught up in the rat race of life, and they're not really satisfied. Like I train people who are like millionaires. Like I train people who are top-notch executives, and they're making a lot of money, but they're not necessarily happy, right? So you have to make sure. I always tell every single one of them, you have to make sure you find balance in your life. You could be sitting at your desk making all this money, but if you do that too much, you're going to die. You're not going to be happy because you step away, you have all these injuries from sitting as the new smoking, right, Jill? Mm-hmm. That's what we talked about. So you have to maintain balance, and that's why me learning this, part of this is like me doing the stuff in the Trivium group, is that I want to start incorporating some of the mind exercises. We want to start developing more of a curriculum to give you guys tools so you go home, like an example that Chris has been working on. Chris, he's our little genius over here. But he's come up with some great exercises, like simple things like try and multiply two double-digit numbers in your head once a day. How powerful is that? Or how simple but really hard that is. If you do that once a day, it starts developing your mind, right? Or when you walk by a person in the room, like you start paying more attention of like what they're wearing. It's like because we're walking around like all the crap in my head, all the crap in my head, all the crap in my head. This, that, the past, the future. I'm depressed, and anxiety. Like, and we're like, boom, be more present. It's like that's a big part of what we're teaching here is just to be more now. And like even for myself, when I'm speaking, I'm working on being more slowing down, so I'm making sure I'm getting the message out to you guys. But finish up this great work. So I'm expecting every one of you to go home and just study the great work and start applying it to your lives, and all of a sudden your life's going to change. It's all up to you. But the great work is also mentioned by Carl Jung. Anybody here know who Carl Jung is? Raise your hand. Really cool dude. Mark Passio. Anybody here know Mark Passio? Awesome videos on YouTube. I highly recommend checking stuff out. He talks about doing the great work.
And his podcast is awesome.
Podcast is awesome. I've seen a lot of the work, so anything he does is great. And various other spiritual gurus. So to finish up, what is the great work? Developing or cultivating the mind, body, and emotions and tapping into your higher self. Extinguishing your ego or lower self, right, which is the fourth way. It must be done every day, this is why it's called the great work. You got to do mental exercises every day, where you're either reading or studying or developing your mind. You got to do physical exercises. We're in a gym right now. I do a lot of push-ups. You know what I'm saying? And then you also got to do some meditation. You got to learn to tap out of this world. You got to realize that you're just experiencing reality from your own ego, and you got to tap out of that and realize those are some of the best moments in your life when you tap out. And when you come back to that, back to your world of whoever you think you are, right? You're going to be more powerful because you've been doing the work, right? Does that make sense? Cool. Thanks a lot, guys.
Awesome. Great job.